An activist protesting against the changing social landscape threw himself off the bridge as a stunt.
Are you serious? You jumped the freaking bridge of life because no women wanted to smash you, and that's your act of protest? Bro, what? A couple weeks back, I ended up watching a video about South Korea and how it's actually owned by some of the top countries like Samsung. Besides that, there is a grandiose list of issues going on in South Korea. So today, we're going to be getting our education, checking out South Korea is everything wrong with society. Because I guess South Korea is like the worst country on the planet. According to this guy, South Koreans don't shoot me, okay?
The view from the Mapo Bridge is one of the best in the city.
Okay.
At night, Seoul's glittering skyline stretches across the horizons.
The scenery is beautiful. It reminds me of Spirited Away.
But for many young Koreans, this picturesque view was the last thing they ever saw.
Don't tell me they jumped. Don't tell me they jumped off the bridge. What happened?
Bright lights of the city contrast with the darkness of the Han River. Its strong cold currents promise an escape from the high-pressure world above.
Okay.
Because of its accessibility and location, Mapo Bridge has gained a dark reputation as a favored spot for jumpers.
How did I know? How did I know?
South Korea's mental health crisis worsened in the early 2010s, Samsung was hired to try and reverse the rising number of casualties on the bridge.
What?
And their solution was
Samsung was hired to help mental health and take away casualties from jumpers off a bridge? How is a billion-dollar corporation gonna do that? Are we gonna build like a net on the side of the bridge? Are we gonna go up and just bribe people and be like, no, don't end it all, I'll give you $1,000? How do they plan to go about that? What the heck?
And their solution was rebranding to the Bridge of Life, with a set of LED signs running along each side of the bridge's railings. Written on these signs was a series of optimistic slogans and pictures of happy families. But as you can imagine,
this is the beautiful Samsung solution to jumpers. To people who are severely depressed and want to end it all. You're telling them, guys, we're gonna name the bridge the Bridge of Life. That's like, bro, that's damn near a spit in the face, bro.
And this only had the opposite effect of what Samsung intended.
What?
And in the year after they were added in 2013, incidents on the bridge increased by over 400%. Shortly afterwards,
How
the
did it
scheme
backfire?
was scrapped, replaced by more conventional physical barriers. A much higher fence was then put along with CCTV and pressure sensors to alert rescue.
So I'm guessing that people were just walking there like, you know what, you think you can stop me? You think that these slogans are gonna stop me? The Bridge of Life, you gonna rename it? Life ain't worth living. Yeah, I think physical barriers were probably the smartest thing to do from the first place. Putting stupid ass slogans on the side, I could have told you that was dumb.
Multiple phones were installed across the length of the bridge with direct links to crisis hotlines. While casualties did eventually fall, not all of these measures worked as intended, as shown by the Korea Herald's interview with one potential jumper on a similar bridge. Referred to as aid to protect her identity, the 19-year-old woman was just moments away from jumping before she was held back by a passerby. Before trying to jump, she had used one of the crisis phones, but strong wind stopped her from hearing the person on the other side. In a conversation afterwards, the passerby
No, hold on. Yo, these engineers, South Koreans, y'all are like really smart, right? Like freaking dude. There's like a stereotype in East Asia that East Asians in general are just smart, right? But like, bro, you didn't think to build like a booth or something so people can actually have a conversation with the, you know, freaking hotline? The fact that there's a hotline, a call box, and you gotta barricade the bridge, and you gotta put slogans everywhere should show you that there is an internal issue within the country, a mental health crisis thing, and not something that you just patch on with a band-aid by like building a little bit of construction and saying that's gonna solve all of our problems. The problem is people are even getting to this point in the first place. Why are they getting to the point where they feel like they need to be jumping off bridges at this alarming rate? Why is the mental health all the way down like this? Think about that.
Conversation afterwards, the passerby who had just saved her life asked the girl why she had done what she did. Quote, "Your mother would have been so sad," she said. A then responded, "My mother and I don't get along. She told me you're good for nothing." And this brief exchange shined a light on what could be the root of the problem, something which slogans
Mom, by the way,
and guardrails have failed to deal with. South Korea's young people should have inherited the benefits of South Korea's economic miracle. The country pulled itself up from tragedy and poverty to become one of the world's richest nations, both financially and culturally.
From Squid Game to Blackpink, how South Korea became a culture powerhouse, okay? I don't think I know any Blackpink songs. What do I know? If I know freaking New Jeans, I know, Get Up. I don't wanna you tryna. Yo, if y'all know, y'all know, bro.
But that promised utopia has been turned upside down. With the lowest birth rates in the world, political chaos, cultural division, and crushing inequality, life is getting harder and harder for young South Koreans every day. But the biggest pressure on them is how brutally competitive education has become in the country.
I heard about that.
You see, day-to-day life for the average South Korean high school student is eye-wateringly long and stressful. Let's just have a look. If you're a Korean student, your school will most likely start at 8 AM sharp.
8 AM? Okay. That's not even bad because my school started at like 6, 7. That was on accident. That was an accident. Brief intermission. If you're enjoying the video so far, please make sure you sub to the channel. We're on the road to 30,000 subscribers. Thank you very much.
You'll have to get up far before then. So let's say if you're living in Seoul, you can expect to spend over an hour traveling to school.
Oh,
Add in
damn.
the rest of the morning routine, and the tightest you can start is 6:30.
Okay, that's not
Once
that bad
you
so far.
arrive, lessons begin, and you'll be working until the end of the day with just a short break for lunch.
Okay.
While most kids have some friends in these classes, they can't ever let their guard down either.
Why?
As if you're in the system, the competitive nature of your education system pits you against every other kid.
Kind of like the tutoring exams. If y'all ever watched Naruto, it's like, you know, they're having exams, they're competing against each other, but it's acting like as if they're on the same side. No. You are competing against them to get into the top colleges, bro.
Whether it's meddling parents, teachers, or just the way the tests are graded, it's all set up for you to create harsh rivalries, especially at the top.
Okay.
And as you get older as a student, these rivalries will get even more intense as the end draws closer. Finally, you'll finish school around 4:30, but you'd be mistaken if you thought that was anywhere close to the end, as you might only just have enough
ramen
time to
time?
make some instant noodles for dinner as you then head for your extra classes at night school, or otherwise
Night
known
school.
as Hagwon. As you
I think I heard of this too, night school. Night school, the concept is crazy, bro. We have tutoring, but bro, half of freaking America, actually probably more than half, doesn't even go to tutoring, let's be honest.
arrive, this will be even more intense and strict than just your regular school. Every hour you spend, it has to be paid for. Every minute is an investment from your family. Your entire parents' life savings often hang in the balance, and the pressure is insanely immense. To
Okay.
put into perspective, lower income families spend nearly as much on private education as they do on food.
Damn!
So it's obviously a lot of.
Education than you spend on food? I mean, I guess private education is expensive, but dude,
And then finally, between 8 and 10 p.m., or sometimes even later, Hagwon lessons end, and your school day is finally over.
Okay.
But of course, that's only if you forget about homework. One of the most important things of all here.
The
Now,
worst.
you'd be forgiven for thinking there just isn't enough time for that. How could schools ever expect kids to get this done? Well, the answer is that most of them don't really. It's incredibly common for parents to do at least some of these assignments for their children.
so y'all be cheating in South Korea? Yo, South Koreans, so y'all are smart for real. Y'all be using your parents to do your homework? See, me personally, I would never be able to do that. I had to do it all by myself and learn it all by myself, so that means I'm smarter than the average South Korean, bro. Yes, I know, I'm just kidding. Y'all had no time to do your work.
Kids
Yeah, I know.
unlucky enough to have parents who are too busy just have even more work on their plates. And with that hour-long commute, kids might be getting back at about 11 p.m. or sometimes even later. Then they've got to somehow get sleep as quickly as possible, despite the fact that they've been sitting still and staring at books and screens all day with incredible stress. And if you don't fall asleep, you'll barely get 6 hours of sleep before school happens all over again.
Okay.
A recent survey showed that young South Korean students are suffering from lack of sleep, and more than half of students chose study as a reason of their sleep deprivation.
See, me, I suffered from freaking sleep deprivation in America, okay? But my reasons were Fortnite, video games, chatting on social media. To be serious, I was playing sports, okay? I was an athlete, bro. I was an athlete.
The sleep deprivation is no joke.
Okay.
Studies have shown that this will impair teens' development while making it harder for them to resist their own impulses, which is not a good mix when their life demands so much discipline and hard work for them, all whilst an entire culture bases your worth on how well you rise up in this education system. So then, what is all of this building up to? Well, after years and years of these long days you're doing, the end goal is a good score in the final exam,
Right.
the CSAT.
CSAT.
This 8-hour marathon is mostly a test of memorization.
An 8-hour memorization test? Hell no, bro. What is going on in some of these Asian countries, bro? Because this is like the third, fourth time that I've heard about something like this in a freaking East Asian country. An 8-hour exam, it is never that serious, bro. I'm failing this instantly.
With harsh time limits and some of the hardest questions in the world all mixed in. Just like most of the tests our students have been taking throughout their time in school, the final result is decided by how their score compares to the average. It means everyone is always competing with each other. The reward for making the top percentile is massive.
Okay.
The coveted spot at the top Seoul University. The
Okay.
big companies that dominate South Korean society like Samsung and Hyundai almost exclusively hire from them.
Bro, then they just need to have more universities. Am I tripping? Like, just make more colleges, build more universities. Y'all have the money. You can use Samsung money, go to other properties, and then build them up and create universities. Like, what?
One of these jobs will give you and your family access to a good wage,
Okay.
a good reputation, and a higher place in Korea's hierarchical society. Of course, at these jobs, you'll probably work even longer hours, but that is the best outcome. Failure for these kids who can't afford a redo is almost a dead end. It means the shame of disappointing your family, your culture, and your country.
Okay.
And then a choice between destitution or a lifetime of hard, menial labor.
So if I don't go into freaking Seoul, South Korean University, I'm gonna be homeless for the rest of my life, no matter how hard I studied. And then there's only a select amount of people who get into those schools. No wonder why they're studying so goddamn hard. I mean,
see the effects of all of this pressure just by watching interviews with students from just after they've taken the exam.
what?
워낙 기대했던 시험이었고 또 1년 동안 되게 열심히 준비했던 시험이다 보니까 시원섭섭하네요.
머리는 어떻게 이렇게 됐을까요?
아 이게
It's drip, bro. Relax. Why you roasting his hair, man? He got the anime swag, bro. That's the cut.
항상 그 고비인 부분들이 있을 때마다 제가 머리 쥐어잡는 습관이 있어가지고
Oh, damn.
그것 때문에 좀 이렇게 붕붕 뜨게 된 것 같아요.
One described the feeling of ending it like being let go after being tied up for a long time.
Just say you like BDSM, bro.
하다가 묶였다가 해방된 느낌이라고 생각해요.
지금까지 준비했던 이제 여러 가지 노력들을 이번 시험에서 다 표현할 수 있었던 것 같아 좋은 경험이 됐던 것
Okay.
같고요.
Others scream as they let out all
The guy
the
has cool
pent-up
glasses.
emotions they've had to contain for years. Most are just relieved, looking forward to a brief period of life that isn't all about studying or working.
Okay.
However, for those kids thinking they didn't do as well as they could have, other emotions are flowing through their
Like what?
heads.
수능을 본 후 어머니가 쓰신 돈이 굉장히 크신데 죄송하다는 죄책감이
These interviews
Damn.
are great for accessing young people's personal experience. Is a major portion of developed economy. South Korea also has the highest rate for any OECD country.
OECD country. What does that stand for? Oreo Exchange Cream Division?
Collection of developed economies like the UK, the US, and Australia. While academic stress is a major part of this, it definitely isn't the whole story.
What does that even
Lots
mean?
of countries and cultures put the same kinds of pressures on their young people.
Okay.
Maybe not to the exact same extent, but it doesn't work as a full explanation, as we still haven't revealed why South Korea's young people are so much worse off than the rest of the developed world. Instead, social media use stands out as a likely suspect, as South Korea also leads the world in both internet coverage and download speeds, as over 97% of the country is interconnected online.
So if you want to be a streamer, go to South Korea because their Wi-Fi is just top tier. That's crazy.
Social media use is also somehow much higher than in Western countries.
Really?
As 92% of South Koreans now use social media in some way, with the average user spending over an hour on it every day.
It's crazy how different it is from South Korea and North Korea. Like, you can't touch any type of social media in North Korea, but you go a couple, miles south, and now you're perfectly fine and able to use whatever you want.
The landscape is quite different, however, a mixture between the Chinese model and Western apps. Like in China, nearly everyone uses a domestically made app, which offers
Okay.
a mixture of different uses and services. Korea's version is called KakaoTalk. But unlike China, the market is
KakaoTalk?
far more open for Western apps to take hold, and of these, Instagram was by far the most successful, with over
Okay.
60% of Korean social media users having an active account. And it's also taking
Who doesn't like Instagram? Yeah, follow my Instagram. It should be in the bio of this video, bro. Plug right there.
control of the youth market. Despite being less popular with the overall population, young people spend nearly twice as much time on Instagram compared to KakaoTalk. Its popularity does make sense. South Korea is a very image-dominated culture. South Korea, just like China because of their shared Confucian heritage, puts a bunch of focus
Confusion.
on reputation and saving face.
Okay.
The image you put forward to your friends and community means everything, because
Right.
acting against cultural norms reflects poorly on you and your family.
I heard
And
about
this
that.
isn't necessarily a negative thing. A brief stroll through most Western cities proves some people could definitely use a bit of shame sometimes.
Yeah, but on the other hand, in East Asian countries, saving face for the sacrifice of your own mental health is definitely a problem too. So it's like a gift and a curse, two edges of the same sword, two sides of the same coin, two cheeks of the same butt per se, I don't think that's how the saying goes.
The entertainment industry, which has always looked for any way to chase perfection and unrealistic standards. And this shift in culture is epitomized by the rise of so-called virtual influencers in South Korea.
Ain't this like K-pop groups? Is this BTS or no? Somebody let me know. I'm not familiar.
Even with all the filters, makeup, and surgery, regular influencers and models still weren't perfect enough for marketing teams. So they just turned to completely artificial people to advertise their products. Rosie
these
was
are
the
AI?
first of these corporate creations. Permanently 21, she popped up on South Korean Instagram in 2020 to
Okay.
fill whatever advertising niche she was required to.
Wow.
The benefits for these companies were endless, as she never gets tired, never refuses a job, doesn't need training, never acts out in public, and never asks for a pay
Wait, so is this a real person or is this an AI bot? I'm confused.
rise. Sometimes she appears on her own, other times her mathematically perfect head is stuck on the top of real human models.
Okay.
In the following 3 months, hundreds of different virtual influencers just like her came onto the scene.
Oh, it's
They
AI.
created virtual actors, musicians, and even whole K-pop
Bro, the AI looks so crazy though. Kind of looks, am I tripping? That looks pretty real. I was confused, so.
bands. Any celebrity niche you could name could be filled, and these virtual influencers are now slowly making their way across the ocean. As of late March 2025, H&M have begun using virtual models in their advertising. By superimposing AI images of the models on top of pictures of real people, they can easily attain these inhuman levels of perfection. South Korea is at the forefront of this very dark revolution and is having awful effects on its young people.
Okay.
Something that's an omen for the West. And regular people dealing with the body image problems this causes often fall through the cracks. But it's telling that even the most beautiful and famous celebrities can also fall victim.
Yeah, bro, being a celebrity, is tough. Personally, in my experience, as an A-list celebrity. I feel like I always feel, you know, pressure from society, from you guys watching the video to look my best, you know. That's why I always, you know, get dressed up and fancy for the videos and stuff. And it does suck, you know. The lifestyle of feeling like I need to, you know, be perfect and feeling like I need to, you know, maintain this beautiful, amazing, spectacular look. It definitely puts pressure on me and negatively affects my mental health. Damn, I can't even keep a straight face. Damn it!
The same
I was almost there. I almost had it.
The K-pop industry blends the worst parts of South Korean competitive pressure with the negative effects of its body image culture. Suli was just one of them.
No, all seriousness though, South Korea, East Asian beauty body standards are freaking weird. Like everything's about like being skinny, being white, and then having like slim facial, whatever you call it. I watched a video a couple weeks ago. It was like freaking plastic surgery epidemic of South Korea. Because dude, it's bad. It gets bad.
Many men and women pushed into this industry at a young age and molded into a K-pop icon.
Okay.
Now, at first, her career seemed like a classic success story. Trained from a young age, when her K-pop group FX released their first singles and album, they immediately shot up to the top of the charts. Before the rise of BTS, they were the most internationally recognizable K-pop band in the world.
Who are they?
But unlike most K-pop stars,
Suli?
she challenged the constant demand for perfection. She would often post pictures on social media without any makeup, challenging the beauty standards of the time.
Oh, honorable. This is honorable. This is bravery right here. Showing off the forehead like this, you know, thin eyebrows. This is something that I commend you for.
Even openly talk about subjects that are taboo in South Korean culture, like mental health or even romance.
This is actually good.
This brought her wave after wave of unrelenting hate comments,
Really?
personal insults, and death threats.
Y'all sent her threats for talking about mental health and not wearing makeup? No wonder why, you know, South Korean population is going downwards, bro. These dudes are probably just not able to get laid because which women is gonna like you, dude? You're being weird.
And after a period of depression relating to
Was this her?
constant abuse, she sadly took her own life.
Singer and actress Seol Lee, a former member of the K-pop girl band FX, was found dead Monday afternoon.
No.
Seol Lee had been harassed by malicious online comments throughout her career and had openly spoke about her experiences on cyberbullying.
Wait, this ain't you talking? Are you lip syncing?
Police said in a statement that the 25-year-old had been suffering from severe depression.
Never mind, it is. I don't know, maybe it's just like not synced up.
And how for now they suspect she may have taken her own life.
In the wake of her passing, South Korea then implemented strict laws on cyberbullying, allowing anyone to report it and
Suli's
enabling law
law.
enforcement.
Damn, so at least she made a change in the, I don't know, society of South Korea. Unfortunately, she did pass away. Rest in peace. Hopefully everybody that knew her is grieving properly. Again, rest in peace.
To expose people's real names if they ever leave hate comments. But the systemic issues that led to this tragedy remained. And it's no wonder, with such a massive focus on your outward image, that people are willing to do anything to match the insane beauty standards. So it's not really a shock that South Korea is the plastic surgery capital of the world.
Right.
The industry is literally worth over $1.7 billion.
Dude, $1.70 billion. Do you know how many dollars that is, bro? Do you know how many Big Mac meals I can buy with that? Do you know how many Wendy's 4 for $4s we can do? Do you know how many times we can go to Panda Express and get a bucket of freaking Chinese chicken? Gosh, bro. And this is all in plastic surgery. Just a cosmetic thing that people would think they need just because, oh, I don't look good according to society. Bro, society is different everywhere. If you feel like you don't look good somewhere because of society's blah, 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 maybe just move to a different part of the world and you'll be perfectly fine. Society beauty standards in South Korea will not work in freaking America. So I don't know if you're bigger in South Korea, you come to America, you look probably perfectly fine. As a matter of fact, everybody here compared to you is obese.
Predicted to grow to
Love
over
yourself.
$5 billion by 2032, truly showing how normalized plastic surgery has now become in South Korean culture.
You obviously don't need it at all, both of you, but would you ever consider having surgery done yourself?
있죠. 있어요. 저도 이제 눈이 조금 작아서.
No, you do. You have some small eyes, buddy. Coming from me, you know, we both are on the same team. Nothing wrong with that, though. Small eyes, brothers unite.
톡 하고 싶거든요.
더 예뻐지는 걸 보면 부럽다는 생각은 해본 적이 있지만
Most of the time in South Korea, people get surgery to try and look more naturally beautiful. For
What?
years, beauty standards have aimed at this idea characterized.
You know, one thing I noticed, bro, when people try to get surgeries, I'll never really be able to say what they should get surgery on before they get it, you know? And that's how you know you shouldn't really be getting it or you don't need it. You're just looking at the mirror too much.
by features like a V-shaped chin, pale skin, a small nose, large eyes, and a clear complexion. Never mind that lots of these things aren't all that common in Korean people to begin with.
Right.
Eyelids are a common cause of tension for people concerned they don't match this standard. The so-called double eyelid surgery is now one of the most common in Korea to replicate this feature.
Dude, double eyelid surgery, all that stuff. Bro, I used to struggle with that when I was a kid, bro. Because look, okay, one of my, I think this side, I have a double lid. This side, I have like a monolid. I don't freaking, who gives I don't know. Maybe I just have a lazy eye. I don't, you know what? Maybe I just have a lazy eye. But who cares, bro?
Often given to young women by their parents as a graduation present. In an interview, one anonymous woman talked about how this had happened to her and how she had felt pressured by her family to get the surgery.
a graduation present. We don't give people money. We don't give people flowers anymore. No, what we do is, oh, congratulations on your graduation, honey. Let's go get some surgery on your ugly, stupid shaped eyes that look so terrible. And you look ugly, as a matter of fact. Bro, a way to cast an insecurity on somebody.
Quote, I was satisfied with my own appearance, but my mum and grandmother seemed unhappy with how I
wow,
looked before
dude.
I had
Terrible.
the surgery.
Terrible parents.
I was pushed to feel grateful that my parents could afford the surgery cost, even though I never asked them for it. And if family pressure wasn't enough, these surgeries are often pushed by advertisements and influencers as well. Posters and billboards show before and after images, promising that they can make you beautiful in the eyes of
this is a whole entire part of the economy, bro.
Society as well. Unfortunately, the rise of Instagram filters, airbrushing, and AI enhancements will only push plastic surgery further. As the beauty standard becomes even more artificial,
I didn't think about
the results of plastic surgery will only get closer to matching this look. The results are just lots of people left worrying about how they look more than anything else. Like narcissists from Legend, they miss out on life because they can't see beyond their own reflection. And we've only just scratched the surface of the amount of pressure on South Korean society and especially on their young people. It's especially bad because lots of these costs and societal factors have determined the birth rate.
But the Kims need help.
Most people still adhere to strict gender roles and traditional values. However, today women are increasingly rebelling against them. The 4B movement has been gaining traction for years.
I heard of this.
And it promotes women completely cutting themselves off from men by saying no to kids, marriage, intercourse, or even dating. Meanwhile, there's also been a huge backlash against all of this happening. Remember the Mapo Bridge from all the way back at the beginning? Well, one of the most high-profile cases where someone lost their life after jumping was based on this. An activist protesting against the changing social landscape threw himself off the bridge as a stunt.
Are you serious? You jumped off the freaking bridge of life because no women wanted to smash you? And that's your act of protest? Bro, what? That's not an act of protest. Nobody's gonna remember that. They're just gonna be like, oh yeah, that's that weirdo who thought he absolutely deserved some coochie. Freaking go to the club, I don't know, talk to women. What is this?
Apparently assuming he would survive and swim to the shore. But despite having a very high average success rate at saving people, rescue workers took 3 days to find his body. And it doesn't matter where you personally stand on these issues. The fact remains that gender is just one of the many divisions that has actually crept into South Korean society.
What do you mean where you stand on these issues? Like, I feel like you can't really have a stance. If women say they don't want to smash you, you're gonna have to freaking shake their hand and be like, okay, cool. Otherwise, you're just weird. You're like freaking, it gets into the, you know, grape categories, the SA categories, the harassment category. Okay, sounds good. That's it. That's all you can say. Well, that was everything wrong with South Korean society. We learned about the plastic surgery epidemic, which I kind of already knew. We learned about the tough schooling. We learned about the bridge of life. Samsung controlling the freaking world. And we learned about freaking K-pop groups being bullied by people on the internet because they're talking about their mental health and not wanting to wear makeup. In conclusion, South Korea has a lot of issues. They need to be fixed. I don't really know where to start, dude. There's like a lot of things. I think actually, you know what, where we should start? Probably something on the economic, you know, governmental level, and then build more schools. Let's start with just building more schools and make it so that if you don't get into the top school, you still have some type of future in life. Too much time spent studying, too much time spent working, and not enough time spending having fun. And in order to have a successful society, you need to have a good mix of both, bro. But that's gonna do it for today's video. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe. Join the Discord link in the description. Let me know which one you check out. As always, it's Love Hello. I love you, and I'm out.